Hi, my name is Keith Tenzer. I'm a solution architect at Red Hat, and today I'd like to walk through an Ansible automation platform demonstration. And of course, everybody knows about Ansible and is using Ansible, and a lot of people even know about Tower, but not that many people really know about what a platform is around Ansible and some of those capabilities. So the reason why we need a platform is there's a lot of smart people out there, and of course, individuals and groups can get together and build amazing automation using Ansible even to do great things and really help their business or organization. But scaling that work or scaling that automation across the enterprise or across an organization is a really hard thing to do. And you need a platform to do it because you need to involve all of the stakeholders, the line of business, DevOps, IT ops, SecOps, network ops, and all the various other groups. So ultimately, that's what we do with this platform that we provide, is allow you to scale your automation across the enterprise. So let's step through now a demonstration showing these key stakeholders and what their role could be in an automation workflow. So the first thing I've got is line of business or the end customer. So our automation platform offers a service catalog that allows you to abstract away some of the actual automation behind a service. So those users would basically go in, you configure this. Obviously, it's a service request system, so there's orders and approvals and all that good stuff. But just for simplicity, I'm going to go in here. I've got an app store, and I've got an application I want to deploy in Kubernetes. So I'm just going to basically go in here and order it. Of course, I'm going to be approved to order this, so there's an auto approval happening here. But I'm just going to select what region this is supposed to go to and what kind of environment it is. And whatever else I could be prompted for. That's up to the people that are writing the automation behind this. So I click confirm, and off it goes, and I'm going to be informed through this portal basically what happens with my order and so on. And that brings us kind of the next step, which is what happens is it invokes a template to run in Ansible automation controller, which is also synonymous with Tower, which is of course controlled usually by someone in IT operations, or we also provide it as a managed service on Azure, for example, and some of the other cloud platforms coming. So now we can go into Tower, and we should see our job kicked off, and you can see here our job is running and executing against that. And this is just standard Tower stuff. It's basically going to deploy all of these everything about this application on the platform we chose to do. And what basically happens behind the scenes here is that we are pulling those playbooks from GitHub, of course. So Tower's downloading those at runtime or however we configure it against a branch or whatever we're using. And then we execute this on an execution node. So we have a concept of separation from the control plane and where we're executing playbooks. And these actually run in a container, with all the dependencies and everything they need. So basically pulls that down. And then what it does when it runs the playbook is it also needs to talk to get the sources from somewhere. So for example, we have an Ansible collections or roles or modules, even the execution environment itself. And so one other thing the platform is providing us is a private automation hub. And let me just show you that real quick. So here I'm in the private automation hub, and you can see we're doing something with Kubernetes, right? So here's the Kubernetes modules that are actually used by that playbook, but they're not coming from the internet. They're coming from this private repository up here that I've configured. So I'm able to certify or provide certified content, approved content for my Ansible consumers that are writing their playbooks. And you can see we have Red Hat certified, which are obviously fully supported. You can also publish your own here. So I've got a different version here of the Kubernetes collections, for example, and you can even add stuff from Ansible Galaxy. But the point is you control this, and people aren't just going to the internet to get stuff. And this is where, SecOps comes involved, and security, and making sure, we're bringing along those aspects to our automation as we go. So the next phase after that happening, the playbook's basically executing, is we deploy to our platform. So in this case, it's a Kubernetes, it's an OpenShift cluster, and I can just go in here and we can see basically in here we deployed this to a project called Fossil. And so if we go into our project right here, we can basically see these are the workloads that we just deployed. So if I go here and look at the pods, I can see I've got a bunch of pods running. They were just deployed 2 minutes ago. That was all done via Ansible. And the cool thing, though, is I executed this through Tower in a playbook. But basically, if we look at what happened here, and I'm just going to show you the code. This is basically the repository where the operator for this application exists. And in there, I've got this deploy.yaml, and that's what I actually called in Ansible. It's really simple. It just creates a project or a namespace, and then calls the role Fossil. And that role is exactly the same role as that operator that I would deploy would consume. So if I go under here in roles, here it is right here. It's just using that. So what that means is when I'm doing things in Kubernetes or OpenShift, I can actually create playbooks and consume those in different ways. I can deploy my application as an operator. In this case, you go into the platform, you say, operator hub, and I could look up here Fossil, and obviously, I wouldn't need Ansible to do this part if I wanted to deploy it that way. And I go continue and install, and I can install this application here. But I can also do it, as I just showed you, through Tower, using those exact same playbooks that are behind the scenes, because we're allowed, actually, Ansible is one of the languages for building operators to manage our applications. So that's a really cool thing. And another thing our platform brings to bear, which is really cool. We talked about the execution environments, how that playbook that I called that talked to Kubernetes and built that environment, it really executed in a container image. Well, there's, I'll just show you running another playbook here that I have using Ansible Navigator. This is a tool we're providing content creators for Ansible to execute playbooks. And you can see here, basically it's just going to call the Ansible API and list the jobs using a vault password and a parameter. But if I were to develop, this is where I would do my development, right? So I'm going to run this. It's going to actually spawn in an execution environment. And that execution environment, that's the same execution environment that I can run in Tower. So I know where I'm developing, and what it ultimately executes in production are exactly the same, which allows me to really, it allows a lot of benefits and sanity, and not having something different on your laptop versus in production, and security to make sure that what's in that image is actually secure, the image runtime and everything else, and everything we're pulling, and these navigate or execution environments can also be stored in our automation hub as well. I don't have any here, but you can add an execution environment to that. So we just kind of walked through some of these capabilities while deploying something to Kubernetes. Again, it could be deploying something to AWS or whatever it is, right? Use your imagination. So I'm just going to go kind of to the last part here, which is the analytics. So the automation platform also provides analytics, which allows all these different roles to really see the value that they're getting out of automation, to quantify it and give some dashboards. And so if I go into my final kind of piece here, is the analytics. And you can see here, basically I connect to the console here, and I can get reports. These are pre-canned reports on how my automation is doing. There's a savings planner, so I can actually create a profile of like how much it costs per hour. This is to deploy and patch AWS servers. So like, what does it cost me? Manual time to do one server is 8 hours or more, and I want to deploy in 100 hosts, right? And then I can see the statistics, and it'll actually look and see, kind of give me a breakdown of what that would look like over time. It gives me the formula. There's an automation calculator as well that allows you to calculate some of this stuff in real time. You can see statistics for your organization about jobs, how many jobs you ran, what organizations you ran under. I only have really, one organization here default, but you can kind of get an idea of how your automation is being consumed across the enterprise. So you could see, hey, this group, isn't really using as much automation as another group. Why is that? Like, let's talk to them, right? And get some stuff. There's even deeper dive into the jobs. So this is the actual jobs. This is a job we just ran through that service catalog. And then I can even see statistics on my clusters. So I can have obviously different clusters of Ansible available, across the enterprise, and I can actually see what that, in this case I only have one, but what, the success failure of those jobs look like, and so on. So yeah, that basically kind of wraps things up, what I wanted to show you. And again, to summarize, this is really a platform. It's not just about, hey, write some automation and execute it in the CLI or in Tower, right? This is about how do I scale that automation. In order to do that, I need a service catalog. I need obviously integration with GitOps. I need a controller, UI and API layer. I need an execution environment that provides the flexibility and the same container image that I'm actually developing against. I need a secure place to store all my automation, dependencies, collections, modules, roles, the execution environments themselves. And finally, I need to understand some analytics, like how am I doing? I need to track this to know, it's a moving target. How are we doing? How are we succeeding? And how we can get better. So with that, I thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed this presentation.